There is one moment I often return to. It was in South Africa. I saw Indian workers, poor, frightened, stand before batons and bayonets without raising a hand in defense. They were beaten, arrested, humiliated, but they did not strike back. Their silence, their refusal to retaliate, broke something in the men who oppressed them. Power that cannot provoke fear is undone. That was when I knew the soul is stronger than the sword. I called it Satyagraha, truth force or soul force, not passive resistance, active, disciplined, fearless. And once you taste the power of self suffering, once you see that it stirs the conscience of the world, there is no going back.
Welcome to the Undead Sages podcast, where we travel back in time to talk to long dead wise men and women. My name is Moraine de Haan, and today we'll open a new line of inquiry into the thinking around violent resistance. Today, we often take resistance as a right, even a duty, but it wasn't always so. To rise up against power was once treason. Now it's a cry for justice. And yet, the moment you claim that right, you awaken something unpredictable. Fighting injustice may restore dignity, but it can also unleash darkness, terror, betrayal, even ecstasy. In this series, we speak with those who resisted, and those the world tried to silence. Saints and revolutionaries, mystics and militants. Their words are sharp, their choices costly. You may not agree with them, but if you've ever clenched your fists in the face of injustice, then this is your conversation too. For our first guest in this arc, we begin with the one whose resistance changed an empire, not by the sword, but by the soul. He is often remembered as a saint, but he was also a strategist, a provocateur, a tireless resistor. Mahatma Gandhi, welcome to the Undead Sages podcast.
Thank you. I am honored to be here. Though I do not often think of myself as a sage, I am glad if my words can still serve. Let us speak with open hearts, and let us listen not only with the mind, but with the soul.
Could you tell us about your life? What shaped you into the man you became?
I was born in Porbandar, a small coastal town in Gujarat in 1869. My family were Vaishnavas, worshippers of Vishnu, and we followed a tradition steeped in devotion, non-violence, and a respect for all living things. My mother was deeply religious. From her, I learned the power of fasting, prayer, and self-restraint. At home, truth was not negotiable. If you told a lie, even a small one, the shame was not punishment. It was spiritual loss. That sense of inner accountability stayed with me. It made me believe that no matter the laws of kings or parliaments, there is a deeper law inside. I trained as a barrister in London, but it was South Africa that turned me into something else. There, as a young Indian man, I was thrown off a train for sitting in a whites-only compartment. That humiliation, cold, sharp, unexpected, shook something loose in me. I began to question the laws not just of governments, but of morality itself. I came to believe that injustice is not to be opposed with fists or rifles, but with truth. Not a soft truth, but one that confronts, demands, and will not be moved.
You resisted the British, first in South Africa and later in India. Can you talk about some of the struggles you were involved in? I can't imagine they all went according to plan, even if your plan is simply to rise without ill will.
Ah, no, they did not go according to plan. Life is not a straight path, especially with empty hands and a stubborn conscience. In South Africa, the law failed us. We could not plead our way into justice. We had to embody it. Our own people wavered. Who wants to be beaten and jailed again and again? Women marched, workers starved, yet we did not retreat. We returned again and again without hatred. In India, the struggle was larger, messier. The Salt March was a triumph, yet not clean. Police beat protesters, many were arrested. Still, we did not raise a hand. But other struggles were more difficult. Violence crept in. The Chari Chaura incident haunts me. Protesters burned a police station. Policemen died. It broke my heart. I called off the non cooperation movement. Many thought me weak, but if the movement strayed from non-violence, it was no longer Satyagraha. Better to stop than continue with polluted means. During partition, my soul nearly shattered. The land was free but soaked in blood. Brothers turned on one another. I walked through the carnage fasting, weeping. I felt grief, not victory. So no, it did not go according to plan. Satyagraha was never a guarantee of success. It is a test, not of strategy, but of soul. Each struggle, each setback deepened that test. Even when I failed, as I did often, I believed the struggle was still worth it. Not for success, but because it kept me faithful, and perhaps made others brave enough to believe the same.
You often embraced suffering willingly. Why?
Because suffering can cleanse, not the suffering of punishment, but the suffering you choose for a cause. It is a language. It says, I believe in this more than I fear pain. And that message is stronger than bombs.
Did you face opposition from others in the independence movement for your commitment to nonviolence?
Of course, many young Indians, rightly angry, saw non-violence as weakness. They wanted revolution, rifles, fire. I understand that rage, but I told them, if we use violence, we may drive out the British, but we will inherit their disease. Some called me naive, others called me a saint. I am neither. I am a stubborn man who believes that how we fight determines who we become.
You were killed by a fellow Indian. Was that your final betrayal?
No, it was a sorrow, not a betrayal. I knew that my death would come from within, not from the British. But even in that, I saw the work of truth. If I die with no hate in my heart, then even my murder becomes a message.
You've mentioned Satyagraha. It seems to be your central principle.
Yes, Satyagraha is not a strategy, it is a way of being. It means holding to truth even in the face of punishment. It demands courage without anger, discipline without hatred. It is resistance through love, not sentimental love, but fierce, moral love. It begins with the self, with diet, speech, celibacy, and humility. If I cannot govern my own desires, how can I lead a people? Through Satyagraha, the opponent is not the enemy. He is a soul to be awakened. If I hurt him, I fail. If I shame him, I fail. But if I suffer in front of him with dignity, I might reach his conscience.
So Satyagraha is about protecting the purity of your soul. If I become angry or violent, that poisons my soul and takes me away from purity. Why does purity matter?
You understand rightly. Satyagraha is not about defeating the oppressor, but refusing to be corrupted by oppression. When I grow angry or raise a hand in violence, I surrender my soul to the very forces I claim to resist. I may win a battle, but I lose myself. Purity matters because the soul is truth's only vessel. Polluted by hatred, fear, or revenge, it serves only pain. We are souls resisting the lie that violence corrects violence. Only love that suffers, yet does not strike back, can do that. Satyagraha is soul work, the hard labor of remaining free even under chains. Purity is not pride, it is readiness and strength. Without it, resistance becomes mere reaction, repeating the cycle we are meant to break.
Is there a spiritual dimension to this purity? And if so, how does this play out?
Yes, the purity I speak of is spiritual at its core. Without this dimension, Satyagraha is a tactic. With it, it becomes a path. I believe truth is God, the force animating moral law. When I align my soul with truth, purifying my thoughts, desires, and actions, I draw nearer to God. Practices like fasting or remaining silent under insult are not for show. They burn away the ego, making me empty so truth can fill me. This is deeply spiritual work, a form of worship. It plays out not in dramatic miracles, but daily discipline. Eating simply, telling no lies, controlling the senses, refusing hatred even when justified. It means being as strict with oneself as one is merciful with others. In trials, prison, long marches, facing death, I turned inward, tuning myself to something eternal. Resistance without that tuning becomes noise. In Satyagraha, we seek not just to free the body or nation, but to liberate the soul from fear, pride, and cruelty. Without it, no true freedom is possible.
I imagine that the Indic principle of non-harming was central to your Satyagraha.
Yes, deeply so. The principle of ahimsa, or non harming, is the very soil in which Satyagraha grows. In truth, there can be no Satyagraha without ahimsa. Ahimsa is not merely the absence of violence, it is a living force. It demands one refrain from harming not only in action, but in word, thought, and even intention. If I feel contempt in my heart, even if I say nothing, I have broken ahimsa. This idea is rooted in the deepest layers of Indian tradition, teaching that to harm another is to harm oneself. All life is connected. In Satyagraha, we resist injustice without harming the one who commits it. We seek to transform, not to punish. If I cause my enemy to see, to awaken his own conscience, then we both are changed. Ahimsa is central. It is the discipline of love under pressure. It is strength, not weakness. To refuse to strike while standing firm requires the strength of 10,000. Ahimsa is the highest ideal, meant for the brave, never for the coward.
Can you give some pointers to those of us who would like to live more peacefully, more in line with ahimsa?
Ahimsa is active goodwill, a deep regard for the dignity of every living being. To live by ahimsa, begin not with grand gestures, but with small acts of truthfulness, patience, and kindness. Peace starts from within. First, watch your thoughts. Hatred, fear, envy. These are forms of violence. Recognize them, then guide them out gently with understanding. Then your speech. Ask, is what I say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Even a disagreement, spoken with compassion, can become a bridge. Act simply. Reduce your wants. Live close to nature. Grow something. Mend something. Cook your own food. These bring you closer to life's rhythm. And serve. Find someone who needs help. Serve them without expectation. Service humbles the ego and opens the heart. Lastly, be brave. Ahimsa is not for the timid. It takes courage to refuse to strike back, to hold to truth when lies shout louder. Ahimsa is a journey. Every time you choose love over anger, compassion over judgment, you move closer to peace. And if you do that, you will not just change yourself, you will begin to change the world.
How do you view the modern celebration of resistance? Do we misunderstand it?
Yes, I think often we do. We celebrate resistance like it is glory. But real resistance is silence, hunger, loneliness, and failure. It is not about defeating others, it is about transforming the self. To resist is to hold a candle in the wind and say, I will not let it go out.
There is a verse from the Dhammapada, an ancient Buddhist text that can be translated as, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law.
Yes, yes, I know that verse well. Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law. It speaks the very marrow of what I have tried to live. It is not a strategy. It is a truth so deep, so elemental, that even the fiercest war cannot bury it for long. That verse is the law beneath all laws. It is older than empire, deeper than vengeance, and stronger than any weapon forged by man. When I read those words, I do not hear gentleness. I hear force. A force that disarms the enemy without drawing blood. A force that burns away hatred not by striking it, but by refusing to feed it. This is why I say love is not weakness. Love is the final resistance. Not a soft love, but a love forged in self-discipline, in truth, in suffering born without resentment. Yes, that verse is not merely beautiful. It is instruction. It is the axis on which Satyagraha turns. If we cannot live that truth, then we are not resisting. We are simply shifting the direction of hatred. Fortan need ajasavan harden, and if I have lived for anything, it is to remind the world only love can truly end war.
That sounds like a fitting end to our interview. Do you have any final words for our listeners, especially those who struggle with how to resist without becoming what they oppose?
Yes, begin with the self. Clean your heart. Simplify your life. If you cannot live your ideals quietly, do not expect to shout them loudly. Resist not with anger, but with presence. The world does not need more warriors. It needs more souls who will not lie, who will not strike, and who will not bow. That is Satyagraha. That is strength.
Thank you, Mr. Gandhi, for speaking to us and for enlightening us with your life lessons.
Thank you. I have only tried to be faithful to truth, however imperfectly. If anything I have said lights even a small lamp in your heart, then I am content. May your resistance, whatever form it takes, be guided not by anger, but by love, not by victory, but by truth. Ram Ram.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Undead Sages podcast. Next week, we'll talk to another soul who has resisted, although in quite a different way. You might say Mr. Robespierre is Mr. Gandhi's polar opposite. Make sure to be here for next week's episode, as it promises to be fireworks. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please share it with your friends, rate the episode, leave a comment, and subscribe to the podcast.